Welcome to our Rugby Club, a podcast where we explore the stories from the heart of community grassroots rugby. That's both on and off the field. I'm Gavin, aka the Ref Cam, and today I'm joined by Ryan. Ryan Pies Yeoman, the patron saint of pastry. We'll find out more about that in a bit. He's a former player, referee, and a familiar face in the rugby communities across Devon and maybe beyond. In today's episode, we'll chat about grassroots rugby, the basics. So let's start off by asking Ryan a very simple question. Ryan, with so many rugby-orientated podcasts available, why do you think a podcast such as our Rugby Club is needed in the game right now?
Oh, good question.
I try.
You say there are so many rugby podcasts in the world at the moment. They're all focused at the very top of the game. They're all focused at the elite level. They're looking at the professional player, the professional game, the elite side of our sports. And I hold a bit of a belief that is just the very tip of the iceberg about this sport. And 1% of the 1% get to play at that level. The rest of us play somewhere a bit below that, somewhere where it's not about salaries, it's not about salary caps, it's not about try scoring bonuses. It's about having fun with your mates on a Saturday afternoon. It's about the fitness element of a Tuesday and a Thursday, or whatever day that you train. But most of all, it's that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that badge you wear like a badge of honour. And it's a group of people, group of men, women, children, boys, girls, all loving this sport and all playing the sport together and everything that comes around that.
So anybody listening to this podcast, this is episode 1, by the way. If you want to talk about England, Ireland and all the rest of it, elite rugby or championship or prem or whatever, tune out. You're not going to hear about it here. We're not. That's it. I've talked about it now. Well, we might touch on it a little bit, I suppose, but we're not going to talk about it too much. It really is about that grassroots community rugby. So that's why it's been founded, and it's something that both Ryan and I are passionate about. Let's get to know you a little bit better first. I mean, I can know an awful lot about you, to be fair. You're somebody that we've engaged with because we're on the same page in terms of the need to have a community and share experiences. How did you get into rugby?
Oh, I put some thought into this, actually. I started playing rugby aged 10, still at primary school, and I was hopeless at football. And I had a teacher in my final year of primary school, Michael Barrett. Haven't seen him for years, but passionate about rugby, and decided to throw a different shaped ball onto the park and teach some of us how to play rugby. Now, this goes way back before tag or mini rugby or any of the different variants of it that we have now, touch, anything like that. It was purely just throwing a ball around on a park, and I loved it. Going into secondary school, it was a pure part of the curriculum. So I was introduced through school.
Was it grammar school?
Well, no. I just went to a comp. Yeah. I went to a standard comp. And back in those days, comps used to play a lot of sport, and we had a relatively good rugby following. So, got into it that way. School always develops into club. So I managed to find myself in a club. Started to play for the local Syria side, who had a junior set up at the time, Plymouth Albion. Loved that. Great bunch of lads. Some really good players that I played with for a couple of years there. And then as I grew older, fell into proper big boy grown-up rugby, and joined a local club in Plymouth, threw a ball around, aged about 16, 17, as you do, and wide-eyed into the world of adult rugby, the things that you get up to at a rugby club, which I loved. I was a part of that from the word go. And ever since, those first days of throwing a ball around at primary school, I have been involved in rugby every year of my life, apart from one where I just took a complete break out of it, and played a reasonable standard. Never professional, never ever going to reach those dizzy heights, but always good standard community rugby.
What position?
I started off as a number 8, and then as everyone else caught up with my height, I moved into a blindside flanker role. And I think the last games I played for my club up in Berkshire when I lived up there was at blindside flanker, and loved it. Have a bit of a reputation as a quite a grotty blindside. Used to spend my days targeting wingers and scrum halves. Anyone coming down that blindside channel, fair game. That's my territory. But yeah, most of all, we've spoken briefly about it before. It was that sense of community, that sense of belonging. I moved to a new location through work. First thing I did, find a rugby club. Go and dig out a rugby club. Go and say hello. Throw a ball around. Meet some mates. I did that when I went to Newbury. Moved outside of Newbury into a small town between Newbury and Basingstoke, and played for the local club there. And that's where I saw the end of my days as a player, and look back on it really fondly. And like most players, when you come out of the game, you look for something else to do. And I went into coaching, which, looking back, I wish I had made a different choice at that age. But I went into coaching because it still kept me part of the game, and nobody likes referees back then. So went into coaching, coached for a few years, came back to Plymouth, went back to my first club, because I was in a pretty rubbish place in my life and needed to go and see some friends. So just rocked up with a pair of boots and a kit bag. I knew where they trained, said hello, and I was back home again. And then coached there for a few years, became a member of the exec committee, and then moved into refereeing, and I haven't looked back. And now I'm out most weekends across Plymouth, Devon and Cornwall, refereeing anybody. I don't really mind. Staying part of the game and staying in the middle, waving a whistle.
You sound like a classic grassroots, community-orientated rugby bloke, dare I say.
Good.
I mean, my story's not dissimilar. I think I started age 11 when my first year at grammar school, and they said, I can't remember why, it just jumps into my head. It was either, do you want to play cricket or do you want to play rugby? And I thought, my friend Rupert's playing rugby, so I'll play rugby. That was as simple as that.
Yeah.
And that's like 40 odd years later, I'm still involved. Well, no, maybe 50 years later now. But I remember the first time I was on the rugby pitch, standing at the fullback position, because nobody else wanted to stand there because it was cold. And I stood there, and this big bloke ran at me, and I was told before the game, stop them if they come at you. So I think I punched him in the stomach as he was running towards me. And that set things off. And that was my game of rugby. Everyone said, that was an amazing tackle. But it obviously wasn't really a tackle, but that's where the love of the game started for me. But let's reflect back just a fraction in terms of rugby clubs as such. I mean, what do they mean to people beyond the matches? How would you describe your experiences around rugby clubs and why you're maybe drawn to them?
It's a collective, it's a tribe. It's a group of people that all share some form of interest. But those people are all completely diverse. I've played, if I look back at Gay or a club that I played for many, many years ago, I played alongside a doctor, a dentist, a convicted murderer. Fact. Sparkies, chippies, any form of tradesman have been in there. People who are unemployed, ex-convicts. It's for everybody, and it's the common language that we all share. And for 80 minutes in the middle of nowhere on a muddy field, normally tipping down with rain, none of that matters. We're all sharing a common game of getting our little rugby ball across the line and scoring some points for our club. And win, lose or draw, there's a bar at the end of it, and we all sing songs, tell jokes, and talk about stuff and life. And that's important for men. We don't do it enough.
If somebody hasn't been involved in grassroots rugby, what do you think might surprise them about club life?
What a tricky question. Probably that it's not what you see on the TV. I talk to so many players and so many committee members or spectators or just people in rugby clubs as I travel around the region, and so many of them come in thinking that they're going to earn a fortune, that it's going to be a route to get to Exeter Chiefs or Leicester Tigers, or they'll be picked up by somebody. And I go back a few months later, and that's completely changed. They don't care about that stuff anymore. They've left that behind. All they want to do is play for their club. Whatever club they play for, it's their club, and they've got a good set of mates in that club. And some of the best clubs, some of the best communities that I see, it's not just about the players. They realise that it's about the wives, the girlfriends, the families, the kids that come along and sit in the bar whilst mum or dad are playing rugby on a Saturday or Sunday.
So it's not all about the rugby then, is it? It's about the people that are involved in the game or around the game.
No, it's absolutely. When I say it's a tribe, it's a group of people that just share a common interest. That common interest just happens to be rugby.
You don't have to be very good at it either, do you, to be fair?
No. No, well,
A lot of people aren't.
I'm testament to that, I think. When I first started playing, I think the RFU had a bit of a mantra that rugby is a game for all people, all shapes, all sizes, and it really is. I think we've lost the way a little bit now, and it's all about you've got to be big and strong, and you've got to put a massive amount of muscle bulk on. But it really isn't. You can rock up as long as you've got, at least one working leg, at least one working arm. There is a place for you in this sport, and you can enjoy it. If you've got a passion for it, there is a place for you in rugby union.
I mean, the challenge is, I think, as you say, that we've got a two-tier system here in terms of rugby. Whatever you watch on TV, be it the Prem, be it Championship, I mean, what we say, level 6 and above, maybe, it's a different game.
Yeah,
it's almost refereed in a different way. Now, let's not dwell on that too much today. But we're talking about grassroots community level rugby, the kind of place where, and it's not always the way because a lot of people do train and keep themselves fit, but you've also got vets that go down the pub and turn up like one game every month or so because they want to run around. It doesn't have to be a full-on game. In fact, what did I see yesterday? I think it was that a referee has just retired, aged 90.
Oh, I saw that. I saw the same thing. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the feedback the players were giving him was incredible. Age 90. But you look at what referees are there to do. We're there purely to facilitate a safe game of rugby. We're not there to run out at Twickenham or treat every game like a World Cup final. It is for most of us in our own heads, but we're there to facilitate a safe game of rugby. And a guy with that level of passion, certainly that level of physical fitness and ability to do the job at 90. Still,
I want to know why he's retired at 90.
Why not 95?
Well,
that's why he's retired. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Honestly, the guy needs to be spoken to. I think he's letting us down here.
We I've bumped into players. There's a prop who plays down in the Plymouth area that I bump into every now and again that I used to bump into when I played in Berkshire. And we share stories about the same clubs that we used to play against, and he played for a different team, and he must be he must be 65 now and still comes out and plays. Doesn't play every week, just plays occasionally. Doesn't have a massive loyalty to any club. He's a journeyman. Will just turn up with a pair of boots, and if you need him, he'll play. He'll fill his shirt and do the best he can.
I was at a club last weekend, Dudley Kings Winford. I'll just mention them in passing. And the ref that was doing the third team game, I think it was, he said to me in the changing room, his first game that he was involved with was 1966.
Wow.
So I don't work that one out. I don't know how old he was when he did his first game in 1966. But that's going some, isn't it?
That's a shift.
He was saying that he's thinking about retiring.
Well, don't think about it. Forget about it. Carry on. Keep going. Keep going. Wow.
I mean,
what changes he must have seen in the game, though, from 1966 to 2026?
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's hang some thoughts onto this for a second. So, I mean, in your career, do you have a memory or two that stick in your mind as to something that you saw, were involved with in the game?
I've hundreds, too many to fill this session. I don't know, how many can we actually talk about on TV, on podcast?
Talk about whatever you like.
Let's go back. Most of them are stupid stuff. You always remember the stupid stuff you do.
Yeah.
So I can remember playing for my club down here, Old Plymothian Manor-Medians, OPM. I was at sixth form at the time. That's a really important point in this story.
Sixth form.
Sixth form. So
okay.
I was 18. I was legally allowed to drink. I was 18.
Okay.
And we had a game over the other side of Devon at Salcombe, which is it's a beautiful place. And it's a nice little rugby club.
It is a very nice place.
And we went over and we played some rugby, and somebody won, somebody lost. I've got no recollection. It's not important. And I think we just treated it as a bit of an away day. We had a bus booked and we drove over. We had a case of beer in the bus, and we stayed around in Salcombe on the harbour having a few beers in some of the pubs around there. And there was some shenanigans were done, and some articles of clothing may or may not have been worn for the entire night. Let's leave that there. And it was all good fun. We had a really good night out. Move on a couple of days. I go back to school, back to sixth form Monday morning. And I kind of had forgotten that my form teacher, my tutor, was a Salcombe local.
Oh.
I forgot this up until it got to my turn at the register, right at the very end. Williams, Ward, Yeoman. Saw too much of you at the weekend, Yeoman. Did you have a good game of rugby? I'd never live that down.
No.
There are people that I bump into, 30 odd years later that were in my class at sixth form who still know that, who still remind me of that quite frequently. Yeah, bless her. This line, if you are still around him, if you happen to be watching this, I'm still very, very sorry.
Very, very sorry. Well, yes, we don't talk of what goes on tour stays on tour is one of those phrases that we use quite a lot, don't we?
Sadly, this one never qualified as a tour, so
no,
we never enacted that ruling. But there were hundreds of games like that, and hundreds of silly things that we all do in a club, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah, I remember going down to Spain, near Barcelona, on a rugby tour. All booked and paid with my club. Until 3 days before, when we were told that we weren't actually going to be getting that aeroplane that we were booked on, we were going on a coach. In truth, we found out that the person that was organising the tour had never booked an aeroplane because he didn't like flying.
The joy of being the organiser. You make all the choices.
Yeah. And so we got on a coach, and down the centre aisle of the coach, 2 deep was beers. Cases of beers, 2 deep. and we drank those for 27 hours all the way down to Spain. Oh, what happy memories. Except for the fact that one of the players, I distinctly remember, fell asleep in the toilet on the coach, and therefore nobody else go to the loo. And the coach driver wouldn't stop because he was on a schedule, and he could only stop after a number of hours of driving. So, I mean, you can't make it up, can you?
No, you can't. Yeah, there's so many scrapes that we've all got into, and those are the bits you remember. You know, I've
I mean, what
scored.
do you think is more important to most people in the community game? Is it the game of rugby, or is it the social side, or is the social side actually overrated to a certain degree?
I think the social side has changed from when I was a player. I think the two stories that we've just spoken about, I don't think they would exist now in that level.
More.
I think there are still characters that try and lead the charge and remember those days, and that's the social aspect they have. But I think society has changed somewhat, and it's a very different place. But is the social side leading the rugby? I think it has to, and I think it does. If the rugby led the social side, if the rugby overruled, if it was all about the score, if it was all about the league position, then 50% of clubs across a Saturday afternoon would be really disappointed. When I put that into context, when I did my coaching tickets, the guy who led the course for my level 2, he said one thing that has stuck with me ever since I did that, and was, you've got to stay grounded. Just remember, on any given Saturday, 50% of clubs statistically are going to lose. So you manage the loss. Don't put everything on the win, because 50% of the time you are not going to win. It'll even out over time, and clubs do win all the way through a season, and they get promoted, and then they win a bit less. But statistically speaking, there are two teams playing. One team wins, one team loses. So
Yeah, not many
50% of
draws, are
clubs.
there? Not in
No.
rugby.
Well, no, not if referees can help it. But yeah, that's something that's really important. So if it was just about the win, it was about the points, then we'd all be trying to play professional rugby, and we'd have that level of pressure and that jeopardy and everything that goes along with that. But we don't. We play grassroots rugby. It's about the community. It's about the social side. It's about the friends. It's about the tribe. It's the sense of belonging, the love of a club.
I think you're touching on a very important point, and we won't go too deep in it in this conversation, but I sort of challenge the RFU. They want to have all of these leagues and cups and all the rest of it, and which is great. I'm sure that there's lots of clubs that would love to be involved in all of these leagues and cups, but as a referee, and just so people understand, I do referee now after 35 years of playing. I've been to clubs where they've dropped out of leagues that they've been persuaded by the RFU to join because the RFU need a certain number of clubs in the league. And these clubs have struggled because the players that were social players now don't want to do those Tuesday and Thursday night training sessions that keep them fit enough to be able to play at a level 8 or level 9 even, because they're happy to be social at level 10, 11, 12. Is that something that you've experienced as well around clubs that you speak to?
Yeah, I've seen it. We've got a similar problem down in the southwest. Certainly on the Devon side, we've had some expanded leagues and some restructures as constituent bodies do quite frequently. And we've got clubs that are now having to travel a bit further, or travel less and see the same clubs over and over again. And that's having a bit of an impact on some of the players who want to play. So, if you've got a club that all of their away games are at least 50 or 60 miles away, and you've got players who don't conform to the standard 9-to-5 job, or we live in a society now where a lot of relationships are different. personal relationships are different. We have lots of players who every other weekend it's their opportunity to see their kids, or time with their kids is now more important than ever to people. So that changes. That changes everything quite dramatically. And we've seen players start to drift away or only fulfill home games, which is a real shame, because the other team, the away, the hosts don't get the revenue in the bar, they don't get the game that they should be playing, and everyone struggles. And then when it comes around for them to travel to you, they don't travel because they hold that grudge, or maybe they've got the same problem. And when I was a player, I used to love the away games. That's what I lived for. Playing at home was boring. I play here every day. I trained on that pitch. I want to go away and drink someone else's beer and, play games in someone else's bar, see what they do, see if there's anything I can learn to bring back to my club. But we are seeing players have not this, I wouldn't say less commitment, not the same level of commitment as probably they had 20 years ago. And that's something I think the RFU needs to recognise. And I think clubs need to recognise that as well, and put pressure on the CVs that they work with to look at how rugby is structured.
One day I'll ask the RFU or somebody that knows more things about rugby than I do, how many clubs there are that are playing around the level 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 sort of grade compared to the rest of the game. Because if there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of clubs at that end, why are we concentrating all the money, effort and energy into the elite games or level 7 and above game? Because that's how I sort of see it. When I'm talking to club chairmen and members of clubs, they often are grateful if they've had a 4G pitch installed, but not everybody's had a 4G pitch installed for their club. They're struggling to get more than one side out. They've tried to get two sides out. They've managed to get two sides out, but then, as you said, Ryan, they struggle to get a full 15, and then they're put into a league, and we're, as referees, wanting them. I mean, I'm just talking because I see it as a referee. I want to play the game of rugby for them. I want them to enjoy their day out, if that makes sense. But if they've only got 14 players, how can you play that game in the league format? It should be a game on format, but you can't do that because it's a league. It just becomes a bit of a mire, doesn't it? And there's somebody with a clipboard at the club that's saying, "Oh no, you can't. We win, don't we? And it's not their fault. They're put in that position, by the game.
Yeah, I think we need a structure which rewards games being played.
Yeah,
in whatever format that might be. If it's a league game, why can't it be played as game on? As long as both clubs accept that it's a slightly different format. It's an amended game, but 30, 28, 26, however many people on that day turn up get to play rugby, as opposed to somebody has to drive to a pitch, arrive, and then suddenly be told, now you can't play this game because under subsection 4, we award the win, so we're going to call the game off.
Somebody said to me, and I don't know if it was you, I don't think it was, but maybe it was. Maybe if clubs did manage to turn out with 14 on one team and 15 on the other, but you play 14 aside, game on laws, but the home club that has got the 15 players gets an extra point, whatever.
That was me.
And the other side get a point for making the effort to turn up.
Yeah.
Was that you who said that to me?
Yeah, that was me. We had
There you go. There you go.
So you do remember something I said.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had a drink for 7 years, so I remember a lot of things. Yeah, so we can sort that out with the RFU. So if anybody from the RFU is listening, give me a call. Or better still, Ryan, he's got all the ideas apparently.
Scary. I've held that belief for a long time. I heard about it, I think it was up in the Northwest, they were experimenting with it. And I thought it was a really good way of encouraging games to play, rather than finding ways to discourage games to play by over-regulating and penalising games that don't go ahead. Let's find a way of saying, how many players you got? 12. Great. I've gotten a couple extra. We'll give them a shirt. We'll play a game. We'll report in the format, and we'll all get some points out of it as a big hurrah and thank you for playing the game of rugby. The one thing I think destroys the game at grassroots level more than anything else is rugby not being played. It's having a team of 15 or get some subs in there. Let's say 18 men or women that want to play the game, and then be told quite close to the Saturday or Sunday your game isn't going ahead because that's completely demoralising. We down here in Devon, we've got a Facebook group. I don't know whether it's across everywhere or whether it's something that's shared of just last minute fixtures with loads of people from loads of different clubs, and they post in there quite frequently, our game's been called off, or we can't play at this pitch. I've got a team. Can anybody, does anybody want a game? We've got a referee. We can arrange this. We can arrange that. We've got a bar. Come to us. We'll come to you. And there are loads of fixtures that are created at the last minute on that format. It's not league. It's just, maybe it's a merit table. Maybe it's just a friendly. Honestly,
But you're right. I fundamentally agree with you that if you've only got 14 players and you're then told you can't play a game of rugby, next week you might have 13 players because somebody says, well, this isn't working, I'll go to another club. And there's the danger, isn't it? I hear this all the time around the game, where people are poached from club to club, not intentionally to hurt the other club. It's just that particular club might need an extra player. And they happen to talk to somebody in the bar, and the person says, well, why don't you play for us then if you can't get a game every week?
The best case scenario.
That's never going to change, is it? But
no, of course it won't.
I think it's worse now than it ever was.
I think more people tend to honeypot. They tend to get attracted to facilities. They get attracted to, it could just be a good club, or a fun club, or it could be that they've got a 4G pitch and really nice stash, or they've been tempted across with something. But let's explore that. So best case scenario, Club A loses a player to Club B. Club A really struggles. Club A then has to put loads of work in to try and reclaim numbers to keep that club afloat and keep it viable. That's the best case scenario. Let's look at worst case scenario. Player goes across. All of that happened to Club A. But player goes into Club B because they're a bigger club. They've got more players. They've got better this, better that. But they've got a squad of 30. So that player coming across has to work hard to try even to get on the team sheet, but he's not getting on the team sheet. All of a sudden, that player isn't playing rugby again. So he's in the same, or he or she's in the same boat. They are in a club where they're not getting the opportunity to play rugby, but for a different reason. But now it's a worse reason because they can't fit in. They don't feel part of that club. Do they go back to Club A? In my experience, most people don't. Whether it's a pride thing or whether it's ego or something, they don't just fall back into their old club and say, look, I tried it. It was a bit of a mistake. I'm not getting the games. I'd rather play rugby, so I'll play with you.
I definitely think we're touching on something which is really important because, again, I don't like to criticise the RFU, but I do criticise the RFU because I don't feel that they're on the ground at grassroots level enough. Because of the conversations I've had with clubs and players about the way the game is going. So I think there's a lot more that needs to be done about that. But let's move on. Let's not be totally negative. We want to find some positives. I mean, would you say that the game at community level is vastly changed? Is it better? Is it safer? Has it lost anything over the years? We're not talking elite. We're not talking Prem or Championship or anything of that nature.
No, definitely not.
Our game, our rugby club.
I think it's changed.
Did you see what I did there?
Yeah, well done. Well done. Keep us on track. I think it's changed, and I think it's changed in mostly for the right reasons. I think some of the changes, everyone listening, everyone being part of a club will probably agree. Some of the changes aren't great, but most of them are. Most of them are done with the right intention and the right execution to keep rugby alive and keep it being played. A lot of that onus is pushed down into individual clubs, and I think smaller clubs or clubs further down the league structure tend to look upwards for a lot of support, whereas the centre, and we all know the centre are restricting their focus. But the game is still the game. We are still seeing people turn up and want, volunteer. Volunteer is a big word, but they still come to a club and still want to play rugby. They make that choice. We all have so precious little free time, and we are still devoting a proportion of that time into this sport. Now, that could be as a player, as a referee, as a club official, as a spectator, somebody who runs the bar, somebody who cooks some food. We are all valued in that area. And if I look back 30 years in this local area, we had more clubs. Facts. So we have seen clubs disappear along the way, whether it's through folding or merging. So the quantity is different, but the quality is still there. The clubs that we still have in 2026, I think there is a huge amount of value from those clubs. There's a huge amount of community. We can call it a community tribe, belonging. There's every single one of them in their own little area is a pocket of brilliance. They all have a huge following. They all have wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, kids, volunteers, executive committee, and somewhere in there, there's some players who throw a ball around in the middle of the park and wear the shirt.
What would you say is the biggest challenge for grassroots rugby?
Oh, I think there are many. The biggest challenge, I think,
maybe I need to do a separate podcast then of.
I think we could.
What are the biggest challenges?
I think we could. I think the current challenge is trying to make a sport that was heavily dominant in the sort of 70s, 80s in this country, still valid in the 21st century. And I don't mean in terms of wearing shiny kit or trying to be professional. I mean, what I said earlier about society has changed. Society is different. If you go back 20, 30 years, women had no place playing this game. Now they're an incredibly important and central part of this game. You wouldn't dream of taking kids to a rugby club. Now, kids and wives and girlfriends are, they are the lifeblood.
That's true, actually. On reflection, when I was a colt and played rugby, I can't really remember seeing many kids around.
No, it wasn't they weren't welcome, but I think people were more guarded about taking kids into that environment.
I hadn't thought about that before.
Now, I turn up to a club on a Saturday afternoon, and there are generally, random RFC and random Saturday afternoon. I can walk in and there'll be some 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds running around in the clubhouse.
I don't even remember there being minis and junior sections in rugby clubs when I was playing.
I came through a junior section.
That was about it, really. About 16-year-olds, I think, was about the level we started.
Yeah, I think when I started, we had about an under-13s, and that's where it kind of started in Plymouth. But I think mostly clubs existed on picking up school leavers or kids from sixth form.
School, that was it, wasn't it? Schools used to play rugby, and they don't anymore.
No, not very, very rarely.
We're going down a dark hole again. I don't want to go down a dark hole. Let's make it a little bit lighter. Let's talk about you for a second. What's the toughest team you might have played against or refereed?
Oh, that's two separate questions.
Yeah, okay. Let's start the toughest team you played.
Toughest team I played. I would have to say probably.
You don't get a prize for getting this right, by the way, Ryan.
I'm trying to remember who it might be and not drop myself in it.
Well, we can always move on. Toughest club you've refereed.
That's a much easier one because I do this all the time.
Go on then.
So toughest game, the toughest games I have are either challenging players or a challenging game. And there's two aspects to that. So
Yeah.
I'm a reasonably solid level 8 referee, and I referee quite a lot at level 7. So I think the numbers are irrelevant, really. So referee or being assigned as a development opportunity to referee a top level of the league above where you're graded is always difficult. It's difficult personally. It's always challenging. But it's also pushing your limit, and that's a good thing. That's how we grow. We've got a couple of level 7s around Devon and Cornwall that I see a lot. And I think for the right reasons, a couple of them are really challenging. So in Plymouth, we've got Plymouth Stock Albion Oaks, who push me as a referee. You know, they're not a violent team. They're not a hideous team. They're not the team you turn up to and think, oh God, here we go again. But they push the boundaries of the law, and they're doing it in the right way, which is good. St Ives in Cornwall, a couple of good coaches down there. They do exactly the same thing. So that's a tough game for me. In terms of managing games, I think you would expect me to say further down the league structure it becomes more challenging, but it really doesn't. It could be anywhere. I think there are always clubs that have an element of boisterousness about them. They always lose a bit of control, which is why you have a referee. And there are 3 or 4 that...
God, can you imagine a game without a referee? I had a captain come up to me, was it Sunday? Sunday, the game I was refereeing, to question me on a law. I won't bore you with the details. But, you know, your skipper of a team didn't know the law. I'm just like, oh, you know, and is that the coach didn't know the law as well? I don't know. You know what I mean? One of those funny games, isn't it? That everybody thinks, how many laws are, I think the laws and sub-clauses, there's something like 350 or something around that number.
And
well, we know them all as referees.
Contradict each other. Sorry. Yeah.
No, I was just saying, we know them all. They don't know them all. Anyway, there you go. And let's move on. I've got another question. What's the best ground or atmosphere that you've experienced in your career, either as a player or as a referee? If you can remember, of course.
I am going to stay quite frequent, and I can probably give 3 clubs that I've really enjoyed.
Okay.
So best ground and best atmosphere, I always enjoy going down to Hale, which is quite a way down in the southwest of Cornwall. It's right down by St Ives. It's about an hour and a half drive for me to get down there. But it's
why Hale?
It's such a lovely club, lovely welcome. It's a lovely pitch to play on. It is really beautiful. They keep it beautifully.
Is it grass or fake?
It's grass. It's proper traditional proper surface.
Good.
I've been down there a few times, and it's a lovely welcome. There's always a cup of tea after the game in the changing room for me. There's always a really good conversation with people afterwards. And you know, I really like going down there. A couple others in Cornwall, St Austell, same sort of reason, but really for the feedback and the conversation that I tend to have with the coaches. It's one of those clubs where I'm always late home because I'll always spend an extra hour in the bar talking with people, which is really good. And I think one of the first games I refereed for Cornwall, because I started in Plymouth and then moved into Cornwall to referee. I can remember it quite vividly because it was I think it was a Six Nations week where England were playing, and my family are rugby mad. We're all rugby centred, so on a Saturday I go and referee, and I'm under orders to get back sharpish because they'll hold the game on the box. My mother-in-law cooks them something to eat in front of the telly, and then as soon as I come in, food will be served and we can sit and watch the game together as a family. I went down to Bodmin. One of the first games, I think it was Bodmin versus Camborne Seconds. And Camborne are a National League side, and the second team were full of veteran players who have played a good standard, who now are a little bit older. And it was the first time they played each other for a little while, but went down there. It was a cracking game. I get a really good rapport with the front row in a game. and I had Camborne front row had been doing this for longer than I'd been around. They knew every dirty trick in the book, and they were pushing the boundaries, and we were having a giggle. But had the game, went back into the change room, got changed, thinking I'll go in, get a coffee, say hello, do the usual things after the game, and disappear out. Walked into the clubhouse to be met with, on my right hand side, both sets of forwards doing a boat race but with pasties, and then figure that one, only in Cornwall. And then looked over, and both sets of backs were doing a boat race the traditional way with pints. And as soon as they'd finished that, there was songs. I was greeted straight away with some of the spectators saying what a great game I had. Thought it was a really good game of rugby. Gave me some good feedback. Wanted to question a few things. About 2.5 hours later, my phone went off to ask me where was I, because everyone sat waiting to watch the game and stuff. So I got in a bit of trouble that day. Apparently the traffic was really bad. So Wifey, if you watch this, the traffic was bad.
Is that the reason that you got the name Pies?
No,
we didn't touch on that, did we? We need to finish on this sort of question. Where's this pie coming, Saint Pie Man?
Right. So playing at university. So I went to university not too far from here. It was part of the University of Plymouth. It was an agricultural college over in Sealhain.
Okay.
And I was a member of the first 15 rugby club, and we played quite a bit, and we used to get quite a good spectatorship down for a home game. And I was all right. I wouldn't set the world alight. I was okay. Averaging a couple of tries a game if it's a good game. And I think one of the first games that I played at home and scored a try was running in from just inside the 22, right in front of our home crowd.
Oh.
And I say home crowd, 50, 60. But I've never been the most athletic, let's say that. So I ran in a try, speed wobbled a try in, crossed the line. As soon as I scored, sort of got up and did my little celebration and got back. And the 50 or 60 that were watching all erupted in a chorus of who ate all the pies, who ate all the pies, and so on. So from that point onwards, I have been known in many circles just simply as Pies.
Pies. I like that. That's a great story. It makes total sense. I was hoping for something a bit better, if I'm honest with you.
It's what my wife says all the time, but there you go.
Couple of quick fire questions.
Go.
Biggest referee nightmare moment? Keep it brief.
Local varsity game, Plymouth University versus Marjons University. Top class referee in the middle. I'm on the sideline. 1,500 students behind me, all trying to tell me. I was assistant referee. I was AR. All trying to shout at me every single aspect of the law, every single one of them completely wrong, whilst listening in on an earpiece.
Perfect. One law you change tomorrow?
One law change tomorrow. I would absolutely change. Are there things I'd add? What would I change? I would
adding it is a change. You can do that. You put an add one in if you want. That's a change.
Line out. I'd make it illegal to walk in from a distance and join the line late. I'd want the lines to be set properly and then just go straight up.
Okay. Forwards or backs?
Stupid question. Forwards always.
Okay. And in terms of rugby, what do rugby clubs mean to you personally?
A huge amount. More than I can probably put into words. I've always been a member of, a participant of, a fan of a rugby club somewhere.
Yeah.
That is my sense of community. That is my group of people. That is my people. That is my clan. That is who I go to. What it means to me is being able to get away from the 9 to 5, get away from work, and just be part of something different, but be part of something different with lots of other people that share that common interest that we all love, the little oval shaped ball. And we love being part of the club together. That's important to me.
And when are you retiring?
What's retiring? I
When?
know not of this concept. No, realistically, I'm refereeing now. I think I will continue refereeing for as long as my body will allow me to. I will probably change the level that I referee at or the frequency that I referee at, but I can't see a point in the future where I don't get up on a Saturday and I go out and do something.
That is the correct answer.
Good.
I don't think we ever. Well, I mean, if that guy at 90 is retired, I think I need to phone him up and ask him why. He looked okay to me.
Well, if he's 90, then I'll aim for 91 or 95. But
Yeah, I know. That's the thing. I've been on a rugby pitch with an 80-year-old. I've never been on a pitch with a 90-year-old.
No, fair play to him.
Why do you think? I mean, anybody that's listening to this in the future and they just don't understand rugby yet, they still don't get it. Why do you think somebody could come down to a rugby club near them and get involved with the game?
It's a cliche, but there really is something for everybody. There's something, whatever shape body you have, whatever size body you have, whatever your state of fitness may be, there is a position on the park for you. Whatever your technical ability, your skill ability, whether you've never picked up a rugby ball or whether you've played National League 10 years ago, there is something that you can add. There is something that will be added to you from being part of a rugby club, which is why we are so much better than other sports clubs and other groups. I see so many teams and clubs in other sports where you add something to them. They're after something from you. Yeah, the same is the same is correct with a rugby club, but you get so much value back as well. You get that sense of belonging. You get great contacts, great mates, great family things. I can't tell you how many barbecues that I've had just with rugby people that I've played with along the time. You get the. I know we're running short on time, but absolutely true story. Sort of second marriage, first marriage failed when I was living in Berkshire, playing for a club up there. Give them a shout out. Hi, Aldermaston. Love you to pieces. I'm still quite connected with the club, so I still chat with the guys and support them on a Saturday via social media. And every now and again, I'll go up and say hello. And we went up. They had a 75th anniversary or a 90th anniversary or something. I can't remember what the number was, but I was offered tickets to come to the dinner. So I thought, I'm going to go. We're going to have a night out. We'll book a hotel. We'll drive up, have some food, see some old mates. I cannot explain, after 10 or 15 years of leaving the club and moving away, walking into the clubhouse and just being amongst mates, being back amongst my people.
Mm-hmm.
And the number one important thing, and it's not about me, it's how welcome my wife was made to feel. She was part of the family then. And, she grew up in a rugby club. She's a rugby fanatic as well. And the benefit for her was huge. And that was just incredible. And that's to me what you gain from being part of a rugby club. It's lifelong. It's, battles fought on the field, friendships made off the field. And that's really important.
We've probably barely scratched the surface in this episode, but we talked about some of the basics well, I think. I think we should pat ourselves on the back for having a great conversation. If you had a thought or a final message in the current environment for players, supporters, volunteers, coaches in the game, what would your final thought of today be, do you think?
Really simple. Stick with it. Keep smiling. there's always tough bits out there. There's always results that don't go your way. There's always rugby's cyclical. You have your ups and your downs. When you're in the middle of that down, keep smiling. Really keep going, because it's so important to keep clubs alive, and keep clubs alive in any format, but just keep them pumping, and you will do that by smiling. Keep people happy, keep a smile on your face, keep yourself happy, and the club will survive.
That's brilliant. Brian, or should we call you Pies?
And most people do.
You'll always call, in my world now, you're Pies. I like it. You were the saint of pastry. I think that's a comment that you also made about yourself. Self-praise is no recommendation, just so you know. I didn't know if you were puff pastry or flaky.
Short crust all the way, mate.
To all of those listening today, thanks for listening to our Rugby Club podcast. If you've enjoyed it, this is one of many. Please do like, subscribe, share with your teammates, your coaches, your friends, supporters, anybody that you think might be open-minded to listen in and share thoughts and ideas. I mean, there's so much more that we're going to cover on this podcast. It might be about recruitment, it might be about volunteering, it might be about financial issues. Somebody out there has experienced the same challenges that you might be facing right now. And on our Rugby Club podcast, we will share those with you. And hopefully that will help you as a club, as a player, as a supporter. You might learn something along the way. And if you'd like to get involved, support our Rugby Club, come down to us. We're not real, but you can come down to us and join in, because our Rugby Club is your Rugby Club. And until the next time, Brian, Pies, have a great day.
Thank you, mate. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Cheers.